Welcome to Real Talk Christian Podcast, where we drink coffee and have real conversations on faith, culture, and society. I'm your host, Chris Fuller.
And this is Marc Hyde.
And on today's episode, we are going to delve into the topic that many couples face at some point in their marriage. What do we do when times get tough? Marriage is a beautiful institute ordained by God, but not immune to challenges and difficulties. However, it's during these tough times that we have opportunity to grow closer to God and to each other. So how do we do that? Let's find out. You ready to go?
Let's go.
Let's go.
What's delve?
Delve, like dive. Delve into it.
I'm gonna rat you out. You wrote the intro, so you wouldn't screw it up this time, didn't you?
I screwed up like the past 3 times I've done it.
We're 2 for 2 though, guys. We're back on track.
It ain't happening
But you said
today.
delve, and I'm like, did you just screw up your own reading?
Nope, it says it right there.
Which, let's be honest, when we read the Bible, we mess it up sometimes because there's a lot of reading on this little screen. So it just has some issues.
It's like, hang on.
But I'm like, delve. What word?
You delve into it.
You dive into it. I'm diving in. I'm going
dive,
deep.
but you can look up the word delve.
I'm gonna look it up right now.
I'm gonna
look up.
I'm gonna have you look it up on screen.
Definition of delve. Reach inside a receptacle and search for something.
That's right. You're gonna reach down to the topic that many couples
We're gonna dig. We're gonna dig into a topic. Okay,
Yeah,
I can
we're
see
gonna
that.
delve into it. Delve.
I'm diving, bro.
I'm diving in.
I'm just diving.
Anyways,
I don't know how to segue out of that, except I had a bunch of jokes lined up, and I'm like, nope, none of these are good ones.
He said delve, and I'm like, I'm thrown off now.
Completely thrown off. I don't know what else to say.
Well, what do you say we jump into your little questionnaire, because it took a long time the last time we did this, so I say we throw it out there now, my good
Just jump
man.
in, no banter.
Well, it is going to be banter because you're going to answer it, and that's how it was last time.
Again, if you're new to the podcast, we do this every time where we hang out and we chat because we are 2 bros in a basement hanging out. We want you to hang out with us for your morning talk show.
Or evening, or whenever.
That was a really bad intro to say. Please stay and don't leave.
Don't leave us now. Stay with.
Don't leave. All right, so
what's the game we're playing again?
Back in the day, we used to do a bunch of different games because, you know, the whole vision behind the podcast, we would jump in really, really fast. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Good. Hey, Flo, how you doing? We're doing real good. Hey,
Okay, today's topic is...
Hey, Grizzly Bear. Then we just jump right in. We're like, you know, we want people to get to know us a little bit. If y'all hanging out with us, we want to get to know you guys because we were asking for you guys to let us know about you and emails and messages and whatnot. And now the Facebook group.
Yeah, we made the Facebook group for
and
it.
now it turned into this whole thing where sometimes we talk about just random crap or we talk about like nothing important.
Or sometimes we talk about Bruno.
Don't talk about Bruno.
Oh, okay.
Just don't talk about Bruno. You talk about...
We don't talk about Bruno.
I guess we are going to make. Have you seen the new Elemental movie yet?
I have not.
I have not. I'm actually kind of excited to see that one. But either way, so we've done so many different get-to-know-you type games. We've done Party Cues. What was Party Cues? It was like a random topic?
Yeah, it was like randomness. And then we played the Would You Rathers.
Oh, that was always fun.
And then...
Oh, this or that? This or that?
This or that. Yep.
Wasn't there another one that you brought out?
Probably, but...
We have not played euchre yet, guys, and I really want to play euchre.
He's like, let's play euchre on the podcast.
Or we can play FIFA. I got FIFA right here. We could do some of that. But this one is
Carcassonne.
this one is probably the most, in my opinion. You have Carcassonne on your phone?
Heck yeah, dude, bro.
Can we play that over can I play you online?
Yes, you can. Yes.
How much fun money do I got, Beth? Do I got enough fun money? Fuller wasted all of his on home improvement.
Dude,
how much fun money do I got?
Okay, wait, let's stop. Pause.
We're bantering, y'all.
Pause.
Come on, Sabrina. You know you're here for it.
Pause.
Come on.
So I'm a little sour right now at Disney Plus.
Your face just turned purple again on the screen.
More than the ordinary reason of it being Disney and being so woke, but for the reason of for so long I have waited and saved my fun money so I could buy all the seasons of Home Improvement because I love Home Improvement.
And I can testify, bro's been saving.
And so
bro's been saving.
I've been saving, and so I finally had the money.
He's been living like Dave Ramsey, living like nobody else. So one day you can buy what nobody else wants. Apparently, Home Improvement.
Yeah, all 8 seasons of Home Improvement. So I did it. I bought them all digital Home Improvement.
What was the price tag on that, Fuller?
It was not cheap.
Not cheap.
So I did it. And 3 weeks later, Disney goes, "Hey guys, look, we've just dropped all 8 seasons of Home Improvement. You can watch it for free with your
Aren't we
subscription."
great?
And I'm like, I kill you.
So Fuller
Straight up Ahmed the Dead Terrorist on
So
him.
you pay for all of them and you own them outright.
Yeah, and I can't take them back because it's digital. So I'm just...
Moral of the
sad.
story is, guys, if you want to buy your favorite TV show, you probably should Google and say, is this coming to Disney Plus or Netflix or Amazon or Hulu or Paramount? There's a lot of streaming services.
I'm ashamed.
There's a lot of streaming services.
Anywho, yeah,
Ton of
so
them.
that's my little unpause. Now we can go back to the game.
So one of the most terrifying games we've ever played is Do You Know Me?
Do you know me?
And in order to do this, what there is I have 12 quizzes here.
yeah.
12 quizzes.
15 questions.
15 questions per quiz. And you're supposed to go back and forth. Like your partner answers all these questions.
Not
and then
partner relationally, just like your co-host.
We're talking about marriage. No, we partners, bro.
It's a marriage podcast.
Well, the idea... We don't roll like that. You made Disney jokes
Overly
already.
caffeinated.
So yes, it is. I am. Yes, I'm drinking more coffee. I already have almost finished this cup before this episode aired too. But so the idea is the fact of you answer all these questions, and then I have to answer, and then put the answer in that I think you put, and see how well do I know my bro Fuller.
That's right.
And it is terrifying. Because if
Yes.
I fail this,
You don't know how nerve-wracking it is until you're
is.
until you're on the other side
like
of
if
the
you're
phone.
just having fun with your spouse, like, oh, okay, but this is live on air for everybody. This could be the end of our friendship.
It could be an embarrassment, or it could be like, I showed you.
This could be a left side,
Because,
right side Twix situation.
let's be
Left
honest,
side podcast, right side podcast.
The last time you did this, you got like an 87. I got like a 65.
you flopped.
I totally flopped.
And the
I felt
answers I got
terrible.
wrong, I had reason why I was wrong. You're like, yeah, that's fair, but no.
Yeah, but me, I was just straight up wrong.
All right, so for this one, I'm going to read the question, and then I'm going to answer it. But
I
these
just-
are Fuller answered all these.
I want to preface
Uh-oh.
that I answered them all honestly. There was no trying to trick you.
So
in
there was
any of
no
it.
funny jokes.
No
These are
funny
straight up
business.
answers.
Straight up.
All right.
All right.
So respond to the same question and try to guess Chris's answers. You
All right,
guys
here we
ready?
go.
So if you're new to the podcast, sorry, have fun with this one.
Yeah, so
But if you OG, you hanging out for a long time, Clark, we're ready for this, right?
if you don't want to listen
Jesse,
to it,
we ready? Michael, we ready?
go ahead and scroll ahead to minute 20 because it's going to take
Sabrina,
about that
Marlene,
long.
we ready? Here we
All right,
go.
go ahead.
Questions for Fuller. What would Chris rather sign up for? Archery lessons, pottery lessons, fencing lessons. I'd love to see you in one of them tight little outfits poking a sword at people.
I am Zorro.
And dance
Ole.
lessons. Ooh, see you some Peter Pan ties with a little tutu? It'd be like the Rock from Tooth Fairy.
You don't have to dance like that, bro.
Would you rather sign up for? You're gonna
salsa.
sign up for archery lessons over pottery, fencing, dance. You're doing archery. Yup.
Yep.
Got that one right. All right. Next question. What could Chris not live without? I don't see Janelle on this list, guys.
Yeah.
Where's
I mean,
Janelle?
that she wasn't an
Where's
option.
Marc?
And God wasn't an option either.
All right. Music, mobile phone,
Ooh.
my pet,
Oh.
or hot water. See, hot water makes coffee, and mobile phone is how you text me.
That's how I find my hot coffee.
But you are a music man to the soul.
And podcasting.
And side note, I found the perfect song of all time that has all
You
of Fuller's
did.
genres
You
in
did.
one song.
You did, bro. It was straight up glorious.
Irish rock band playing
Hymns.
they
In a
do
folk
hymns
style.
in the folk style with
It
a
was-
solid bass line. It's
epic.
phenomenal.
It's
So
epic.
I'm gonna say music.
All right.
You cannot live without music.
You would be correct.
Yes. Okay.
2 for 2.
All right. What would Chris do if he won the lottery? Would he go party, buy a new car, add it to existing investments, or buy a house? I don't know. But see, it's just hard because like you got a good house, you got some decent cars, you don't really party anymore because you'd rather just stay home and watch Home Improvement. So I'm gonna say add it to existing investments because you are a wise human who's trying to save for the future. Yes.
Wise.
3 for 3, guys. How are you all doing? Okay, let's speed this up. What would Chris do if he was given 2 hours of free time? Yeah, that doesn't happen when you're a parent. You don't get 2 hours of free time. Would he sleep, do chores, go on social media, or play video games? I'm going to say sleep. Oh, but you like video games too. Sleep. We're going to go with sleep. Yes. Okay, 4 for 5. 4 for 5. What animal would Chris prefer as a pet? A dog, a cat, a snake, and a horse. I have learned in past episodes that you are actually a cat person, contrary to popular belief. So that's what I'm going with. There you go. Rawr. What is Chris's lifelong dream? To be rich and famous? Nope. To have kids? Well, I mean, you're on your way to 8. To travel the world or to own his own dream car? I would say his lifelong dream is to probably travel the world. I mean, 2 kids have kids, yes, but I'm going to say travel the world. Hey.
Bro, were you cheating?
Sorry, Piper, Janelle, and
I said I
Shiloh. You
wasn't
were not
cheating.
his lifelong dream.
I wasn't cheating. Were you cheating looking over my shoulder while I was answering?
Actually, no, I was bopping to the song we were playing. What would appeal to Chris the most? Money, family, stability, or adventure? Oh, appealed the most. Family, yes. Adventure, yes. I'm going to go with family. That seems like the right answer for this episode. There you go. Janelle, he chose you this time. If Chris could, what would they rather be? Hey, you're a they now. What would they rather be? Stronger? What doesn't kill you? Taller? I had another song in my head. Taller, stronger, taller, shorter, or slimmer? If Chris could be anything, you're already tall. You don't want to be short.
Don't I?
Crap. But I feel like if I say you'd want to be slimmer and you don't say that, am I body shaming you? I'm not really sure. If
Bro,
Chris could, what would they
know.
rather be? I'm gonna dang it! I said slimmer because I'm like you always said about a fat man at a buffet or something like that. Or
no, it's a fat kid in the candy store.
there you go, fat kid at the candy store. That's the show I watch. He goes, I'm happier than a fat kid at the buffet. He's from Texas, so he's always really funny Texas sayings. All right, what role? I'm only halfway done. What role would Chris prefer to play in a stage play? Ooh, the hero, the hero's companion, the villain, or a tree in the background?
The tree.
Now, what role? I would say, but you kind of have that Lil Jon to Robin Hood vibe anyways. Like you crush that role because you can be a goof. You don't have to be like a stable character. You can be the idiot. You could be the clown jester. You can do all these fun roles. So I think you're going to do that. The companion. The villain.
I would love to play the villain.
Apparently someone needs to know Jesus. All right, here we go. Question 10. What would Chris prefer to put an end to? War, disease, hunger, or pollution? I think it's going to be a toss-up between war and disease because they both take lives and they're both terrible. I'm going to say you would rather put an end to... I'm just going to close my eyes and click.
No, bro.
Oh, I click disease.
I'm a good Baptist. Nobody goes hunger.
You'd rather put an end to hunger over disease or wars. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, everybody got to eat.
That's true.
You can survive disease and
Fat
war,
man
but
at a
you can't survive starvation.
That's true. What activity does Chris like doing the most? Puzzles, video games, watching TV, yes, exercising. We're going to say out of all of these. Ooh, but doesn't Janelle love puzzles too? Beth loves puzzles, and I think Janelle loves puzzles too. What would you rather doing the most, though? Watching TV. I don't think video games or exercise. It's going to be puzzle or TV, but I'm going to go with TV because that just makes the most sense because you just bought all of Home Improvement. Video games, dang it!
Bro, dude,
I mean, back in the day, you was like the big N64, Super Nintendo.
The whole week, all my spare free time has been on the VR playing pinball.
Shut up, really?
I bought a game that's got all the Star Wars pinball machines in it. So I've been playing the pinball machines like crazy.
Folks, you are hearing this first with me because I did not know this. I did not know this.
I can't let all my secrets go.
And I thought you actually work when you at work.
Well, no, this is VR. It's at home.
Oh, you're the
Oculus.
Wait, so you're like going ding 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 like with a headset on?
I got that on.
You got
I'm looking
triggers?
around. Oh yeah, man. Heck yeah, bro. Come on now.
Oh my goodness. What is Chris's favorite thing to watch on TV? Sports, news and documentaries, cooking and gardening, or reality TV? Sister Wives is some reality trash TV, which the new season's coming out. Not cooking and gardening. I'm going to say news and documentaries because you love a good documentary. I'm going to say that. Yeah. We're back on track.
The news.
We're back on track.
The news, not so much, but the documentaries I'm
100%.
here for.
Okay, question 13 out of 15. Where would Chris prefer to spend his holidays? In the Caribbean, in the Alps, in a city full of museums, on an African safari? Ooh. That's a hard one. All right, we're going to say no to the Caribbean. Contrary to what my gut's telling me, I'm going to say no to museums. Either the safari or the Alps, but you love the mountains, so I'm saying mountains of the Alps.
Yeah.
Hey, got it.
Yeah, the Alps.
Okay, question
The yodeling
14.
veterinarian of the Alps.
What?
The yodeling veterinarian of the Alps.
What's that?
VeggieTales, bro.
Oh, my bad. My bad, guys. If I'm boring you right now, I apologize. What is Chris's favorite mode of transport? Is it a train, a boat, train, plane, or automobiles? That's a fun movie.
Trains, or automobiles?
A train, a boat, a car, or a plane? What's your favorite train? I think Whimsical Fuller would enjoy a train ride. Because that'd be fun, like going through like the mountains or whatever through the Alps. But you're a boat man. You don't have your boat anymore, though, do you?
No.
You sold your boat? I'm going to say boat because you a boat man. Plane, dang it.
Dude, I'm an aircraft mechanic. I love planes.
That's true, but you also, that's true. Okay.
I love
Back in the day, you were an airplane mechanic.
I love planes. I'd go to plane show. I still like to go to plane shows.
You go to the air show like an Elkhart?
I would like to. I haven't taken the kids yet, but one of these days I'd like to get back out to it and all the fly-ins and everything. I love planes.
What kind of question is this one for the last question?
I know, right?
On a scale of 1 to 4, 1 being the smartest and 4 being an idiot, how smart does Chris think he is?
Oh, I read that
because
wrong.
here...
I read it the other way around.
So 4 is the... So, okay, we'll adjust it. 4 is the smartest, 1's the least smart.
That's the way I read it, yeah.
Because here's the thing. If I put 1...
Because we were bopping the music and I wasn't paying attention
But
to the
see,
picture.
this reflects more on me than you, because if I'd put mine down, my answer would be, oh, so they say, this is a reflection upon me more than you. Because if I say 1, I think you're an idiot.
At least I'm going to get to see how you actually rank me.
All right, here's the deal. He's like,
I'm putting 4 just so I don't have to tell the truth.
Right.
No, don't do that.
Is lying ever wrong? Not in this scenario. I think God will forgive my lie.
Listen.
This is the same type of lie.
If you put 4...
as Rahab and the spies.
This
is the same level.
Here's the thing.
Same level of lie.
It's a double-edged sword, because if you put 4 after that speech, now I know you're just doing it to be kind, and I know you think I'm a 1.
Yep. But this lie goes right in the same vein as Rahab at Jericho.
Listen, there's no getting out of it.
I'm trying to save my life.
You're not, because...
This is for self-preservation.
Because it's going to hurt.
I don't want to die. I don't want to see Jesus right now. I don't want to, shoot. I do want to see Jesus, but I don't, you know what I'm saying. My gospel voice is coming out, so I'm going to go back. All right, so I would not say knowing you. You're not going to say the smartest. You're not going to say you're the dumbest. You're somewhere in the middle, but you're leaning towards the smart side, so I'm saying 3. 2?
Yeah.
You on the dumb side?
I'm on the dumber side, I think.
Oh, man.
Personally, that's just my opinion.
But why? What makes you think you're on the dumber side?
I appreciate you, bro.
I put a 3.
You did.
I would have, no, for myself, I would put a 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty dang smart.
For you? Yeah, I'd put.
I'm not a 4.
I'd put a 3 or 4 for you.
I ain't no Beth Schneider.
I would put like a 3.5 for you.
Oh, thank you.
I think there's some, but I don't think, because you're not a 4.
No,
because you don't have.
Because I'm a 3. 3 being 2.
I knew it was coming. You beat me too. No, but what I was gonna say is you have the capability of being a 4. You just are still learning your craft a little bit. You got a few more years to go.
What are you talking about?
A few more gray hairs, you'll be a 4.
I'm not sure what to do with that information. So here we go.
You were good, man.
Here are the results of this quiz.
Wait, hang on. You're a 3 on your way to a 4. That's how way I'm going to phrase it. You're a 3 on your way to a 4, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Of you.
I appreciate that.
Ooh, a little worse than last time,
I got
buddy.
a 76.
That's a passing grade, though.
Is it?
It is.
Is 76 a C?
Yeah. I think 72 is a... Is it? 72 is a D or 75 is a D?
It doesn't sound really bad, but I don't know. I didn't really...
He's like, I didn't get none of that.
Go down to that level too much.
He's like, if it wasn't an A, it was a
I did not do well in government econ, because econ, dude, you know what econ class in high school, what we learned about? Stuff that doesn't even exist anymore. Because our teacher had these books from way back in the day. He's like, oh, we're just going to do the book and have the quizzes. And he would teach us, oh, well, we don't do it that way anymore. So I'm like, so I'm being tested on crap that don't even exist? This is stupid.
Yeah.
So anyways, I didn't do well on that.
Good job. Anyway, you passed.
I got a 76 on my quiz before. So let us know if you did better than me in the Facebook group on how well you did. So moving on, you ain't drinking coffee this episode because you don't want to have a panic attack.
Well, I drank it before.
That's true.
I've had a cup and a half, and if I drink any more than that, I'll have a panic
sip.
attack.
So that way I could say on air, I am drinking the coffee blend from Toccoa, from that local little coffee shop here in Mishawaka. What's it called again?
Heritage Meeting House.
Heritage Meeting House, right over there by like Big Panda and all that. Or is it more like by...
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
Or is it a little farther down?
It's right where the old...
Mickey D's.
It's where... Yeah, well, no, it's before Mickey D's. No, you're right. It's right near Big Panda-ish.
Like right off Grape and McKinley. People don't give a rip anymore. But
anyways.
So I'm drinking the coffee we've been drinking for a little bit, but I got my bubbly. And so according to Janelle...
It's Belleville.
Belleville. Bold. So this isn't just like a fart.
Pineapple strawberry.
Because normally I joke that it's like, oh, look like, you know, sparkling water with flavors is like the flavor farted in the water. Apparently this is bold. This is like an extra one. It's like 2 farts in there. But according to Janelle, this is her favorite.
It is her favorite.
So I'm drinking Janelle's favorite in honor of Janelle, because we're talking about marriage episodes.
It is good, but it's not my favorite.
I'm bringing your spouse into this. Pineapple and strawberry. And it's not bad, Janelle. And I don't like pineapple things very often. This is not bad.
But he doesn't think it's the best. And that's how I feel. It's good, but it's not the best.
But I also am not a big fan of strawberry bubbly and strawberry LaCroix either.
I am, but
You know?
I am.
You love that Waterloo.
That Waterloo lemon lime.
bubbly.
And I typically don't like lemon lime, but that's my
It
jam
hits.
right now. So
That hits. So I'm drinking coffee, guys. I am saying true to the brain. If Fuller just doesn't want to have a heart attack. So
pretty much, I don't want to die.
but we got our bubblies, we got our water, we got a review to read.
a 4-star review, not a 5-star.
Hey, which
It's
I'm
a
thankful for.
4.
That's an honest
Thank
review.
you. Thank you.
Do you
for
want me
your
to read
honest
this
review.
one since you have a lot of reading to do here in a second?
Yes, sir.
I could probably leave and come back and you'll still be reading the whole show notes. But so this one was left back on March 10th from J Moon 111. J Moon 111.
Yo, what's up, J Moon?
And he or she, I don't want to
J-Moon.
get in trouble. So
They.
no. Jamoon says, great podcast. Love listening to these guys. Really great way to get my morning started. Well, Jamoon111, hit us up at the email, realtalkchristianpodcast@gmail.com, and we will get a mini swag bag in the mail to you. Kind of stat. Maybe not like super stat, but like kind of stat.
Usually I get them out usually Janelle gets them out within like 2 weeks.
That's true. That's pretty
It's
good
usually
stat.
like a 2 week before we get them shipped, and then it's like 3 to 5 days. Wow, depending on where you're at.
You didn't write that. You didn't write that thought down in your
what's
show
gonna
notes,
happen?
did you there, Hoss?
You know what's going to happen there, big guy? I'm going to
Did you just
screw
call?
this up.
I've never been called big guy in my life.
Where?
I am. Don't you dare look at my dad belly. Don't you dare. I am sensitive.
Why are you sensitive, bro? Look, you in good company, my friend.
Goodness. Okay, so let's tee this episode up. So why the heck are we talking about
Marriage.
the hard things, not just marriage in general, but why you got to bring up when times are tough in marriage?
So, well,
What's going on with you and Janelle that you had to bring this conversation
Actually,
up?
our marriage is going pretty good right now.
I mean, she was roasting you upstairs a minute ago, and I was here
great.
for it.
I was loving it. I love the little banter back and forth that her and I get to do. Honestly,
I was a little uncomfortable, but it's okay. No, I'm kidding.
it's honestly just it's a big thing that happens in a lot of marriages, right? Marriages have good times and bad times, and
Blow
easy times and tough times, and nuclear bomb times and non-nuclear bomb times.
Sometimes it just be like that in the Hyde house.
And so it's like, well, what do we do in these tough times? And what is marriage supposed to look like, and how can marriages get destroyed, and what are we supposed to do about it? And basically, it's going to be a lot of scripture and then a lot of conversation. Is what I'm assuming.
Cool.
Unless Mark just like falls asleep over here from a caffeine crash or something. I don't know.
I mean, my bed sounds real good right now. I ain't gonna lie. My bed curling up with some SEAL team or some Madam Secretary and just take a little snoozy snooze.
Well, we'll get through this so you can get home to some SEAL team. All right. So the first question we got to ask is, what does the Bible say about what constitutes a good marriage, right? So before we can get into
chit chat.
rocky marriage, we got to know what a good marriage should look like, right? So we're going to start at what a good marriage
Got to paint a pretty picture?
Yeah, like here's the Bible definition of a good marriage, and then we're going to say here's some things that can make a marriage not so good.
That sounds good
and
to me,
then we're going to
boss.
say how do we navigate a marriage
Ooh.
during those tough times. So that's kind of where we're going to go. That's kind of the youth pastor. This is what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Then we're going to get into it, and then we're going to recap it all.
He's learning, guys. He's learning. All right, fellas. So what does the Bible say about a good marriage?
The Bible says the first thing is the couple helps one another, right? Genesis chapter 2, verse 18 and verses 21 through 25 says, Then the Lord God said, It is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper corresponding to him. And then in verse 21, it goes on to say, So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to come over the man, and he slept. God took one of his ribs and closed the flesh at that place. Then the Lord made the rib he had taken from the man into a woman and brought her to the man. And the man said, This one at last, because before this he was talking about how he didn't have anybody, is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. This one will be called woman, for she was taken from man. This is why a man leaves his father and mother and bonds with his wife, and they become one flesh. Both the man and his wife were naked, yet felt no shame. So, first of all, right, it's not good for him to be alone, so God made him a helpmate. That's point number one, that we are supposed to help each other in marriage. It is not good that we should go through, or at least Adam should go through life alone. There's this aspect of marriage is supposed to be about being helpers to each other in the things that we do in the life that we live.
Yeah, and not to go too far off, but
No,
I remember
go for it, bro. This is what it's about.
Brandon Soche, Pastor Brando brought this up, but I'm like, oh, I'll read this a little bit more. But when you read about the idea of helpmate, it's almost like you have, for a tent, you have two stakes, right? And in order to make it like two sticks stay up together, they have to put pressure. Like if you put two 2x4s together, what makes them stand up is the equal pressure they're putting on each other to stand up.
Right.
And with marriage, it's not supposed to be one of those domineering things over the other, because then your house won't stand up. But the idea is as you guys are working together, you're meant to be together, to be partners together. You know, there is pushback. There's conversations that happen. If you guys want to stay up, the idea is the fact of as you guys are leaning into each other and trying to not just bulldoze one or the other, but you're trying to lean in to make the best thing possible. That's really how you help one another out.
Right.
Kind of the same like idea of, like in sport competitions. A competitor is someone who's striving to put roadblocks in your way to make you better.
Right.
I'm not saying a spouse is a roadblock. That's not what that's not at all what I'm trying to say.
Beth's like, what?
Beth is not a roadblock. She is a blessing from the Lord.
I saw it. Her ears perked up.
She
when
went, Mark said what? Mark ain't ever getting meatloaf again. Say what?
She just paused the podcast, walked downstairs to your office, and slapped you upside the back of the head. And you're like, what the heck was that
You're
for?
never getting meatloaf again. But yeah, so the couple is designed as a helpmate to help one another.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. No. And if you look at it, right. So leading up to that, Adam is naming all the animals that are being brought before him. He's naming them all, and he.
That'd be a fun
It
job.
talks about early, between those two verses that we read, that there was none for him. He did not find a helpmate for him, or one that was,
or one that or it's a thing that was like him.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and prior to that, that's
definitely
when
a tiger does not look like a human.
And like I said, in verse 18, we see that the Lord God said it was not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper corresponding to him. This is all in the account of day 6, right?
Yep.
So,
and then Adam said, "At last, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh."
And then right after this, God tells him to go and basically have dominion. You got dominion over the earth. Have dominion.
Oh, he said some other things too.
Well, he did, but yeah, procreation. But we're not getting into that as much right now.
But that makes a healthy marriage.
It does. Sure. No,
just saying.
Yeah, right. And the bed is supposed to be undefiled and all this stuff. But so the aspect of it wasn't meant to be man in charge, women subservient to it. I think of and I like some of his stuff, but there's an aspect of this theologian Doug Wilson. I don't know if you ever heard of Pastor Doug Wilson.
Super patriarchal. Mm-hmm.
Yes, very, very much so. Of like, women are only good for dishwashing and making me a sandwich type of thing. And I'm like, I am totally not on board with that, because I think Scripture clearly points out that no, it's equality.
It's a mutual relationship with different positions and different jobs and different responsibilities.
Right.
But at the end of the day,
there's different roles, which we're going to get into. We're going to get into that.
All right. So first and foremost, the Bible says couples are designed to help one another. They are helpmates.
Right, exactly. They're supposed to help each other. I like the way that you quoted Pastor Brando on it, that the two bean poles put pressure and support each other.
Each other up.
Yep, exactly. Cool. So, number 2 of a good marriage is they are joined together by God. So we're going to go through Matthew chapter 19. This is where Jesus is addressing divorce and all that. But verse 4 through 6 says, "Haven't you read," he replied, "that he who created them in the beginning made them male and female? And he said, for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate." So
no one put asunder.
We see this thing of it's not two separate beings anymore. It is one, right? They are one flesh. They are one couple. God has joined them together. It's like a fusion, right?
Yeah.
And you can't unfuse without doing severe damage what has been fused together.
And Jesus leans back into creation, and basically it's like, this is the way God made it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Like, God is made for partners together as one.
Right. So I think of
as a team.
I think of Fireproof. You ever see that Kendrick movie, Fireproof?
Long time ago.
So they took the salt and pepper shaker and they super glued it together and stuck it together, and they said, "Now pull it apart." And he went to go pull it apart, and he goes, "Without breaking it." And you can't, because they've been literally physically joined together. And if you rip them apart, you're going to do serious damage to one or the other, or to both. And this is the concept of what Jesus is talking to, that what God has joined together, let no man separate, because in that separation, there's messiness. there's a lot of messiness, and there's going to be lots of damage, which is why God has told us not to do this. So,
yeah, I feel this one, y'all.
We'll just leave that there.
I feel this one.
So what God has joined together, we are joined together by God. That's point number 2. Point number 3, God has defined roles for both husband and wife. Love should always be at the center of the good marriage. Because I added that last little line in there because people think of roles and they're like, oh, here we go, patriarchal. And I want to say, no, love should always be at the center. And I'll get into that after we read these couple of scriptures of what I mean by all that. So Ephesians chapter 5, verses 22 through 32 says, wives, submit to your husband as to the Lord, because the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church. I'm going to pause you until I get through these 3 scriptures, and then we're going to come back because there's a lot to unpack here.
Sounds good, boss. I'll drink my bubbly.
He is the Savior of the body. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives are to submit their husbands to their husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ
Plural
loved.
husbands love plural, like
not like husband,
not sister-wife situation.
Love your wives. Yeah.
Husband, love your wife.
No, there's definitely plural and plural. Just as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her to make her holy, cleansing her with the washing of water by the word. He did this to present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or anything like that, but holy and blameless. In the same way, husbands are to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hates his own flesh, but provides and cares for it, just as Christ does for the church, since we are all members of his body. For this reason,
Here we go.
See a theme going on here? For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. This mystery is profound, but I am talking about Christ and the church. To sum up, each of you is to love his wife as himself, and the wife is to respect her husband. Colossians chapter 3, verse 18 through 19. Wives, submit yourself to your husband as is fitting in the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and don't be bitter towards them. 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 1 through 7. In the same way, wives, submit yourself to your own husbands, so that even if some disobey the word, they may be won over with a word without a word by the way their wives live, when they observe your pure, reverent lives. Don't let your beauty consist of outward things like elaborate hairstyles and wearing gold jewelry or fine clothes, but rather what is inside the heart, the imperishable quality of gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. For in the past, the holy women put their hope in God, also adorned themselves in this way, submitting to their own husbands, just as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord. You have become her children when you do this, or do what is good, and do not fear any intimidation. That's a long passage, and people are going, you're losing me. And then it goes, husbands.
Beth, you should call me Lord now.
No. No. Husbands, in the same way, live with your wives in an understanding way as the weaker partner, weaker not meaning in stature, strength. We'll get into that. Showing them honor as co-heirs. Co-heirs is a big word there. Co-heirs of the grace of life, so that your prayers will not be hindered. All right, so let's unpack a lot of this, right?
Unpack it, boo-boo.
So we know from the patriarchal theology, I'll call it, of when they look at roles in that theology, they see man as head, which means he is king.
Top dog.
He is God in his home, which...
He's the patriarch.
I've heard this term used, I am a God in my house. I've heard that term used.
Really?
Oh, 100%.
I don't know if I want to stand next to that person.
And the woman serves me and does my bidding, and the children serve me and my wife and do our bidding. But really, it's doing
what
the
is
husband
this, shiny,
thing.
happy people?
That's what it sounds like, right? The Duggar family.
Right.
100%. So that is not what we're talking about here, right? And here's why I say that, right? So it says, wives, submit to your husbands. We'll go back to Ephesians 5. Wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord, because the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church. But how did Christ come?
He humbled himself, found himself in the form of man, and basically died.
But what did Christ say at the Last Supper to his disciples when he was washing their feet?
In the same way, go out and serve. Like in the same way that
Even
is
as
that what
I
you're talking about?
yeah,
even as I served you, go out and serve.
Right, exactly. So what did Christ do? He
did the nastiest, dirtiest job in the culture in order to love the people.
He served
there.
the best. He served the best. He loved the best. He did the crappiest things to those whom he loved. He died for those whom he loved. He suffered punishment for those who he loved that he didn't deserve.
And you know what's kind of funny when you think through that? You know, I mean, this idea has been coming up a lot more lately, so it's not like a new thought. But Jesus even washed Judas's feet.
Right. Well, not only that.
Knowing what was about to go down.
Think about it this way.
Right? Did Jesus wash Judas's feet?
Well, he would have had to.
Well, there was a time, I'm trying to think when Judas walked out and then the feet. Like if it was the feet and then the food?
I thought it was the feet and the food. But
I think so.
I might be wrong. But I think you're right. But here's the other great thing, right? Those who were persecuting Christ and hung him on a cross, what was the prayer that he said?
Father, forgive them.
Father, forgive them. Father, forgive them. For they don't know. They're doing him harm, and he's asking for forgiveness on their behalf. Right?
Yeah. Christ clearly states that one of them will betray him. But then he goes, so he says, one of y'all going to betray me.
And I'm going to wash your feet
but
first.
Then I'm going to wash your feet anyways.
Right.
And by the way, and that was a symbol to the disciples to see, y'all see what just went down.
So
y'all got to go do that too.
And here's the thing, right? In that culture, that was the worst job. That's the lowest servant in the house. That's his job.
And he could not, and this is the thing wild about washing feet. When I went to this on the podcast of the person who did the feet washing had to be a slave or a servant, and it could not be a Jewish.
Right.
It had to be a Gentile.
It was so
servant.
bad. That's why Peter was so standoffish.
The Jews were above washing people's feet, y'all.
Well, that's why Peter was so standoffish of, no, Lord, you shouldn't be washing my feet. And he's like, no, I'm going to do this for you. He's like, well, then wash my whole body.
Right.
Which is a little weird.
Like, bro, just go away.
Calm down, Peter.
That's Peter was on the same caffeine that I am right now.
So but this is where I said there's defined roles, but the roles are that the husband is the head of the house, right?
Yep.
And is supposed to love his wife as Christ loves the church, and the wife is going to submit herself as the church submits themselves to Christ. Right?
And it's a mutual submission and a mutual servanthood. It just looks slightly different.
Right.
I mean, it even talks about the fact of, you know, if husband, if you want to prove, like, if you really love yourself, love your wife more than you love yourself, because you already love yourself. You ain't got to be taught to do that. We all are selfish little people.
Right. No one hates their body.
No. Well,
love her like you love your body. Nobody hates their body.
Right. Like you're not going to, like, think about it.
Right.
Like we are so selfish that we're never going to deny ourselves certain things. I mean, yes, there's times and there's seasons, whatever. I get that, but more the fact that if you truly do want to love yourself, go love your spouse. And the other thing too, like in Colossians where it says, don't be bitter towards them. Like, don't do it in such a way where, you know, like, oh, karma's going to get you the butt, or like, you do this, and since I did this for you, and I know you and I talked about this, the idea of okay, so why'd you do that for me? Like, that should never be part of the conversation. But the fact of you shouldn't be doing things out of spite. Like, you know, Beth was telling me of one marriage couple where she's like, I don't know how they're still married, but they like do things to screw the other person over. Like just bring home puppies or do this or that. Just, it's weird. It's wild. It's like, that's not what it's supposed to be about. If I want to do what's best for my wife, that is submitting myself and serving her in such a way where I expect nothing out of it, and it may suck in the No offense, Beth. I'm just saying what it is watching people's feet. And it could suck in the process. Right. But if I'm called to love my wife like Jesus loves the church, that means you got to do the grind. You got to do the work. You got to put in the effort to do it.
You got to protect, love, and serve.
And then on the flip side, though, with marriage, it's mutual. You know, it's the fact of if marriage ain't no 50-50. It's 100%, 100%.
Here's what happens, right? If we follow this formula we just talked about, and this is only a snapshot of all the scriptures that are in about marriage and how we should treat each other.
And this has nothing to do with just relationships in general.
No, yeah. And so you got all that.
We talked about that a few episodes ago.
But what happens here is when you have this formula, I call it the God formula because it's from God.
Okay.
The God formula. When you have the God formula in a marriage, it's easy and natural for a wife to submit, and it's easy and natural for a husband to love and to treat his wife like Christ treats the church, because it's the way it's supposed to be. It's the way we're
the needs of the wife too.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Submission is saying, hey, you're the head, you're responsible, mutual. I'm going to follow your lead. And when a husband is doing what he's supposed to do and being loving and serving, there's trust built there. And the wife can submit herself and trust. Now, there's a time, and this is why I brought the 1 Peter aspect into it, chapter 3, where it talks about even if some disobey the word, right? Talking about husbands, even wives, submit yourself to your own husbands, even if some disobey the word. They may be won without a word by the way the wives live. So your actions matter in a marriage. If you are sitting back and going, well, he's not doing his part, so I'm not going to do my part. Well, you're going to have a really crappy marriage because nobody's
And that's where I think a lot of marriages have issues with the fact of, well, if he ain't doing this, or, well, man, she ain't doing none of this no more. Like I've heard of so many, I mean, it's going to sound really bad, but I've heard so many guys, Christian, not Christian, where it's, the whole idea of, oh, well, she doesn't do this, she's unkind, she ain't putting out, she ain't doing all these things, so why the heck would I want to go be kind to her?
Right.
Because you're her husband, you fool.
Yeah, exactly.
And when I read these verses, 1 Peter 3, 1-7, I read that wives are responsible for their own actions. But then when I also read at the end of verse 7, where it's like, husbands, live with your wife and understand it's a fact of, it has nothing to do with what they do. It has everything to do with what you are called to do, because you are responsible for how you live your life.
Right.
Now, everyone else has to give account for how they live.
Right.
But, going into this, it's the fact of there has to be personal responsibility in a marriage to make sure you do what you got to do. Now, I mean, I do want to say you could be the most kind, loving, gracious wife ever and end up being with an abusive husband. That's not what this is talking about.
No.
But it's more the fact of our jobs as spouse is to go 100% all the time.
Right.
And it's the way I was taught it's supposed to be not an outserve people, but if you're constantly thinking, how can I serve them? 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 You're going to find a beautiful marriage because you're loving one another the way they need to be loved.
And not only that, but if you bring all the scriptures in about the one another's, right? Love one another even as Christ loves
the
you.
church.
And it goes through all these one another's and serve one another and treat each other kind, be compassionate, be loving, watch out for each other. All these things, comfort each other, edify each other. I mean, there's
towards another.
There's
like,
constantly one another. All these one another's of how we're supposed to treat people.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's these that specifically speak to marriage. So we should be doing all the one another's and
this stuff,
right? So it's like a layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. And what you see in this perfected state of marriage is you see a beautiful picture of how God intends for us to be with him as the church under him.
And it's beautiful.
It's a beautiful picture.
But then the question then becomes is, when does the breakdown in this plan happen?
So what can lead to the unhappy marriage?
Because we can talk about all the ideas of, hey, this is what God wants for marriage. And it's like, cool.
Well,
I ain't in that.
Yeah, we had to.
I'm just saying. I'm saying from the podcaster perspective,
right?
Hi, Beth, I love you.
We got you. But no, we had to see this beautiful picture of what marriage should look like.
That's a beautiful picture.
This is what it should be. This is the pinnacle of every Christian, and I'm going to say Christian, non-abusive marriage should be striving for.
Yep.
Right? Should be striving for.
That sounds good.
It sounds peaceful, don't it?
Sounds peaceful with some meatloaf on the side.
It sounds like a lot of meatloaf
And some tacos.
Ooh, yeah.
I had a taco bowl tonight before I came.
There you go.
We're gonna have steak tomorrow night.
What are some things that can lead to an unhappy marriage? And I want to go through. So this is going to be a two-parter, by the way.
Are we gonna make the two-part episode?
Yeah. So we're gonna go through this unhappy marriage point by point. We're gonna talk about it, right?
Are we gonna read all of them and then go into them?
No, we're gonna do one. We're gonna name the unhappy marriage one by one. That's terrible. And then we're gonna take a break.
I feel about that.
And then we're gonna take a break
for a week.
And we're going to jump back into navigating through these difficulties.
Okay.
How's that sound?
That sounds good to me. All right. Y'all might not like it, but that sounds good to me.
I like to leave Joe on a cliffhanger.
All right, let's do it.
Joe, you probably got a happy marriage, so you're good right now, but yeah. Anyways, so what can lead to an unhappy marriage? I got 11 points here, right?
All right, let's do it.
And the number 11's pretty much the pinnacle.
Okay.
1, lack of commitment to the marriage. So what do I mean?
Somebody forgot their vows.
What do I mean about lack of commitment? This can come in a wide variety of issues, and we're going to actually touch on this several times throughout this list. But a lack of commitment could be like, yo, I married you and I thought I was happy, but I ain't in love with you anymore because I don't have this feeling, and I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it anymore. It's a lack of commitment to the marriage. Whereas, hey, when I said till death do us part, that was a commitment. I meant till death do us part. That's the commitment that I'm making to you. So it's like, you know what? I had that commitment, not anymore. Like, I just don't have that commitment to this marriage anymore. So the big lack of commitment, it's a huge problem, especially, I don't know about all over the world, but in America, this is a huge sticking
Even
point.
in the Christian world.
Oh, yeah. Just, well, I was in love with them and I've fallen out of love with them. I've heard that so many times. So I've fallen out of love with them.
Or it's not that, it's not the same person I married 20 years ago.
Right.
Well, no, duh, Sherlock. We're all allowed to evolve a little bit.
And the thing that people...
You don't think the same when you're 20 as you do when you're 40.
No, but the thing that people need to look like, especially in an unhappy marriage, right? When you're saying that and you're begrudgingly, yeah, they're not the same person. It's like, well, are you the same person? And what have you fostered in that marriage to make that person change to treat you the way that they're treating you? Like, what have you done? Have you done any self-reflection on what you added into this bad marriage?
And that's why it's good to review the vows,
Right.
where it's, in sickness and in health, for richer, for poorer, for better, for worse.
Till death do you part.
That literally is what that means.
Right.
And some people is like,
The
for
good and
better,
the bad.
for better, for worse, for bored or for not. Like, no, there's, even where it talks about in the Bible, I mean, they're coming from a guy who's gone through a divorce, right? The Bible even says divorce was never the plan.
No.
Divorce is not the plan.
Why did it say it? It was permitted to Moses because of the
hardness of your heart.
Hardness of your heart. So it's because of our hearts that there's even divorce.
Now, again, granted, you can only control you. You can't control the other person. And so
that's
there is some awkwardness in there.
But that's what it's saying, though, right? The hardness
Right.
of, even if you have the good heart, it's the hardness of that person's heart for whatever reason, the lack of commitment or the other 10 things that we got going on.
But,
it's a hardness towards the marriage vow. That's what it is.
And honestly, and that's the thing, is commitments are not easy. Sometimes it's painful to keep a commitment. And that's why we're trying to teach our kids this right now. I know you are too. Where it's the fact of, no, we made a commitment, we're going to follow through. Like I know with one of my kids with soccer, she wanted to quit halfway through. And we're like, look, we're not going to make you play next year. That's okay. We're not going to force you into this.
But you got to finish
But
this
you
year.
made a commitment to your team and to
100%.
yourself and to your coach.
100%.
So
You gotta finish
buck
out
up
this
and do
year.
it. You're going to
Yep.
finish it out because that's what we do. We're finishers.
Yep.
We want to finish.
We start
that.
we finish what we start. That's the way it is. We got the commitment. And that's the thing nowadays, especially in American society and in the Christian churches, we don't take commitment as serious as they once did, and we don't take those vows as serious as we once did as a people.
I mean, look at even
society.
phone contracts. T-Mobile's doing this phone contract deal where it's like, tied up with your plan, we can unbreak it for you. Like
Right.
We're always looking for ways of escape and
Right.
ways out. And there's that passage in Scripture, I can't think what it is, where it talks about even a builder makes plans and accounts to make sure he can finish the project he starts. Right. And there is a level of that with marriage, of you do before you get married. And my brother Chris, he was engaged. He actually broke off with his fiance pretty much the same month that I found out about the affair and the blow up. And I'm like, wow, sorry, Mom. All of us kids, we just went like, sorry, Mom.
You guys all on the same fuse,
basically. And I actually asked Christopher and Jamie, for listening. You can ask Chris if I have permission to tell the story, because I'm about to tell it anyways. So just get pre-permission. But I asked him. I said, bro. So to be honest with you, I said, did you and your ex-fiance, did you guys break off your engagement because of what happened to me? And he goes, no. He goes, it's kind of just timing of it. He goes, honestly, it was weird that happened at the same time, but it's the fact of, he goes, I was looking at what it could be down the road, and just went, I don't think this is it. Yeah. And so Christopher had now you know which brother. He had the foresight to look at this and go, you know what? I don't think this is going to do it. So rather than just being like, oh, well, I'm just committed, I guess we're just going to do it. We're just tied in. We're stuck with this. Let's just make it happen. He at least had the foresight to go, I don't know if this is going to work. And, that's a challenge for those of you who are dating or thinking about dating or engagement, of looking at that partner, looking at their families, looking at how they were raised, looking at all these different things and going, not just like, man, she's just a 10. Like, that ain't good enough reason, boo-boo. Like, you got to, look at the person and be like, is this someone that I want to go through the ups and the downs with? Is this someone that can go the distance, that I'm willing to go the distance? Now, once you make that commitment, get off your saddle horse, buck up and let's get after it, because you made a commitment. But there is a level to that. And, but what can lead to an unhappy marriage is one or the other person, like you said, there's just a lack of commitment to it.
Right, exactly.
So I agree. All right, what's number 2, big guy?
So number 2, and you could probably speak to this one a lot better than I can. But number 2 is infidelity.
Yeah, because it breaks up marriages and breaks up kids. Number 3.
It definitely, infidelity is one of the number 1 causes for splits in America and throughout the world.
And it starts with a lack of commitment to your marriage.
I think I read 60% of marriages will end in infidelity. I think that was the statistic.
And this is why, I mean,
Fact check me
I'm
on
going
that
to speak in this a little bit. This is why, Beth and I, we talk about this all a lot is, Beth words it so flawlessly, way better than I can. But the idea of the fact of when you become too familiar with someone in the opposite sex, you're more easily able to jump over boundaries that you had, and you're less likely to be like, oh, we're just having fun, we're just flirting. When in reality, you're becoming too familiar with that person to the point where it's easy to cross over those boundary markers.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I've always stated that you got to have clear boundaries, right? You have to set up boundaries, and there's certain boundaries that you don't cross.
And people ain't gonna like it.
Like, hey, don't be, if you can all help it, don't be in the same room as the opposite sex if you're a married person. Alone, right?
Alone.
Don't put yourself in those situations. The Bible talks about keeping yourself from the appearance of evil. Don't be messaging people like, so we got a thing, me and the Hydes, Fullers and the Hydes got a thing, like if Marc's going to message Janelle about something, just, it could be a design thing or whatever. I'm in it and Beth's in it. And if I would say something to Beth, we're all four on it.
And if Fuller wants to get a hold of me, he gets a hold of Beth first, because then she's going to pick up the phone.
Pretty much.
Then, here you go.
So we got a text thread that's all four of us that we constantly talk on, and that's the way we do it.
But I also do that with Devin and Kathleen.
Yep.
I also do it with Amanda and Jo. She's my sister, so it makes it funnier when I say that. But there is a level of, there are boundaries that we've set up.
Yes.
And so many times when you set up these boundaries, people will make fun of you. They will laugh at you. Like a boundary that we have. I mean, a lot of my clients are women.
Right.
And so I have to text them. I have to call them. I have to talk with them.
Sure.
Beth has free reign to my phone.
Yep, exactly. Well, that's Janelle.
I can't hide nothing.
We got podcasts, listeners writing in, stuff like that. Janelle has free access to my phone.
Yep.
At any time, she can pick up my phone and look at it. And you know what? I'm not ashamed of what she'll see. Not a bit.
And the nice thing with Beth is she can say, like, you know what? This one looks a little, like, no boundary has been crossed, but
looks a little.
This is the way this could be perceived. I know
the appearance of evil thing.
Yeah, and Beth will say, I know what you're trying to communicate, but you got to be careful in wording it this way. Maybe you can word it this way next time. It's like, oh, thank you, boo boo.
There's a lot of times.
I've been saying boo boo a lot this episode. I apologize.
There's a lot of times I hand my phone to Janelle, or I'll read it. I say, hey, this is how I'm going to respond. How does this sound?
Does it sound good?
Before I even send it, because I don't want the appearance of evil. I want to stay. If here's the line, I want to stay as far away from that line as I can, so that I'm not accused, one, and ruin my testimony and my witness, or that I don't fall into that temptation. Like, those are the two things. You got to keep the boundaries. You stay away from the boundaries.
But infidelity starts in the heart. It starts
with the lack of commitment to the marriage.
Yep. A lot of it goes back to that.
Right.
So what can lead to an unhappy marriage? One's a lack of commitment. Two, obviously, is affairs, infidelity.
Right.
Anything along that line.
Yep.
And there's also what we call, have you heard of this new idea? I don't want to go too fast, but have you heard this idea? I think it's called like soft cheating or something like that.
Explain it to me. I may know about it, but it may not be the term that I recognize.
Kind of the idea of like, you ain't talking to somebody, but you checking out their Insta is pretty good, and you're going into this, and
so that's where it starts. I mean, it's
and then
like
there's also emotional affairs, there's physical affairs.
Well, it's like
these different things.
It's like Chris Kripe said. The time to if the chocolate cake is a sin, the time to walk away from that sin, you might turn your head and notice and go, oh, chocolate cake. Oh, turn your head away and walk away right then and there. But if you can start going, oh, chocolate cake. Oh, wait, it looks like writing. Let me get a little closer, see what it says. Oh, well, it says have. Oh, let me get a little closer. Oh,
yeah, curiosity kills the cat and kills Marc.
100%.
So
infidelity, lack of communication, number one. Number two, infidelity. Number three.
Not lack of communication, lack of commitment.
That's what I meant. Thank you. We're going to get into communication later on. Number three, constant conflict.
Okay.
So this is like the fighting all the time.
Now, but here's my question, though, is what can lead to, because I feel like anything can lead to conflict. Like, I mean, anything from people who are dealing with, like I know people who have gotten into accidents just the pain, and that causes a conflict. Kids can cause conflict.
Money.
Choices, money.
Yeah, right.
Anything, work. Anything can cause conflict.
Sure.
Do you put mayo or butter on the outside when you do a grilled cheese? That can cause conflict too.
This is in America. It leads to a lot of unhappy marriages. They just there's constant conflict. So the thing that I have found, I shouldn't go through the navigating, but we'll get into it. You got to know when to pick your battles.
When to hold them and when to fold them?
I was going to say that. I'm so glad you said it, not me.
I got you.
You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Who even? This sounds
Kenny
really
Rogers.
bad. Okay.
Know when to walk away and know when to run.
I'm like, I know the lick, but I don't know who sings
Anyways,
it.
so yeah, you got to know. Look, if toilet paper's on one way, the roll's on one way to the other. I'm just going to show you.
Matter.
I'm just going to show you the pattern and be like, you're wrong, and then walk away. No, not really. But no, it's knowing what is worth fighting over and what isn't. What's a preference and what's an issue, and learning to distinguish between the two.
And, I remember, so one piece of advice that I got is, there is the conversation around in the Bible talking about the fact of don't let the sun go down on your anger. But sometimes the conflict could be so bad that it's not a bad idea to just say, all right, we're going to cool off. Or just say, hey, we're going to revisit this. We need to revisit this. And so this is that Beth is really good at. Is we're having a conversation and be like, all right, now's not the time. We're going to revisit this when I'm in a better spot, when you're in a better spot, is now a good time to talk about it. And so rather than say, I can't believe it, you're just like your mother, and you're going boom, 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 boom. Sometimes we need to take the humble pill and take a step back and be like, and asking like, you good? You okay? Rather than fighting. And people on their, their personalities can react a little bit differently.
Well, and I think it falls into that same line and concept of the scripture that talks about, to not withhold yourself sexually from each other, except for in a time of prayer and fasting for a season. And that I would say, constitutes along the same line that if you're going to pause a conflict, right?
You got to revisit it.
You should set a time limit to at least get back together to say, hey, can we talk about this now? Say, all right, hey, we can't talk about this now. Can we talk about it tomorrow? Or let's revisit it tomorrow, see if we're in a better spot. And not that you have to visit it, but at least keep it going to where you're constantly putting a date to where you're going to visit, go, are we going to deal with this? No? Okay. Here's what we're going to try to get
but
to deal with
then,
next.
Leaning into it, there's also the level of marriage of we each are responsible for ourselves. That's when you need to revisit that. Be like, am I in the wrong?
Right. No. Yeah.
And
totally.
why do I feel like I'm right?
Yeah, but and that's what you should be doing when you're not in the midst of the conflict is what I'm saying. But you need to set a time limit to revisit the conflict. Otherwise, you might just sweep it under the rug and never come back and deal with the issue.
Which then can lead to
bitterness,
infidelity, and a lack of commitment. And
exactly.
Hi, Beth.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Let's,
number 4.
We're on number 4. We got to get through 11.
We'll get moving quicker.
Woo. So number 4, substance abuse.
This one just speaks for itself.
This pretty much, yeah. I mean, when you're a druggie or an alcoholic,
it costs a lot of money.
It costs a lot of money. It's not safe. You can do some stupid stuff. There's just there's a
lack
whole
of trust. There's a lot of different things.
so much stuff. And yeah, I mean, it breaks down the trust in the marriage very quickly, like you just said. So, all right, number 5, another big one.
This is the
financial issues. Oh
yes.
man. Hey, we just had an episode about death and taxes and what's the purpose of life, but now we're talking about financial issues in the marriage.
So much Dave Ramsey, and it's on there all the time.
But it is. It's a big conflict creator.
Is there a saver? Is there a spender?
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. So like Janelle's a saver, I'm a spender, 100%.
So okay,
and we've had to navigate through that.
So let's lean into that just for a split second. For you guys with financial issues, how did you guys navigate that?
So the way we navigated it is I go, okay, here's we agreed, sat down on here's the category. This is the bills that got to get paid.
Because those are just not essential.
This is essential.
That's not a
this
conversation.
Is essential. Here's the other categories in which we need money for, and then here's fun money. And so it's like, okay, we always try to make sure we have a little fun money for each other.
You buy home improvement.
And it's like, there you go. Now you can, spend whatever you can do whatever you want with that money. Whatever. So, $20. If you want to go and light it on fire, go for it. That's your money. You go do what you want. If you want to go and I don't know, see a baseball game, go for it. Like that's your money. Like you just.
But it's about fighting to get on, not fighting in a bad way, fighting in a good way to fight for to be on the same page.
It's finding and working through to find a common goal in your finances and making sure both parties understand the finances and are both aware of the finances. Like, so if I said, Janelle, you have all the money, or you're going to take care of the budget, and I'm never going to look at the budget, I'm just going to trust you, and she breaks the trust, that's a big deal. Or if I do the same and I say, I'm going to control the budget. And
that happens in a lot of marriages.
So, like, what we do is Janelle loves spreadsheets, so I let her do her spreadsheets, and then every page,
understand it, man.
Every paycheck, she does the spreadsheet, and she hands me the spreadsheet, and I look it over, and I say yay or nay. Like, yep, it looks good, or nope, we need to move this here and this here and this here and this here. That's the way our marriage works, and that's what works best for us, and we stick to that budget. That's what works best for us.
And Beth and I am a big picture person, and she's a nitty-gritty person.
Yeah.
And so we don't do it like what you do. For me, it's more of I'll have these big ideas that we'll kick around, and Beth is kind of Beth is the backstop. To be honest with you, she's like, yeah, we can do that. No, we can't. Or I'm like, I would love. My thing is I'll just say things randomly. I'm like I would love to go on. I would love to have a 3-week vacation. That sounds awesome. But how are we going for it? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just saying.
I'm like, hey, I want to build an addition onto the house. Let's
that's Biffer. Biffer wants that.
Let's see how much it costs.
Well, I want a boat.
Yeah, I don't want a boat. I want to move up. Like I want to increase the square footage and.
And you're kicking the tires, have some fun with it.
Yeah, I might call somebody, get a quote, come out here, see what it costs.
But with financial issues, man, we were listening. It goes back to Dave Ramsey. We were listening to a call, and this guy was like, "Yeah, I just found out my fiance is $19,000 worth of credit card debt." Dad, ready for this? She didn't know about her mom screwed her over, put a name on her credit card, and just screwed her over. But there's also things where, like my mom with my stepdad, he hid all of his debt from her.
Wow.
And so that was bad.
Yeah, so again, it breaks trust.
School loans. Yep. I know my sister and her ex had to deal with that. And so there's a lot of money can cause so many unforeseen issues. But 100%. If you're on the same page, it can really help. Open, honest, work through it together. And here's my honest advice. One checking account. You can have 100%. Different ones, or both people have access to it. Not, this is my money. This is your money. So one person, one bank account. When Janelle and I got engaged, we combined our accounts. When we got engaged, because we made the commitment, and we're like, no, this is going on. We didn't get engaged not to get married. We're getting married. So we got engaged. We combined our accounts. Oh, and you were engaged, and that's the way it's been ever since. We have done the finances together. That's the way it is. You got a tattoo when y'all was dating? Y'all always been like... Look, there is no lack of commitment to my marriage. Dang, no. There is not. All right, so far we've talked about lack of commitment, infidelity affairs, constant conflict, substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, whatever. It can even be a Dr. Pepper addiction. Sure. Sorry, Beth. That was not a slam. That's just what came out. My bad. But I do know people... It could be a meatloaf problem. But I do... I don't see no problem, but honestly, I do know guys who have drank so much Mountain Dew, it actually became a financial burden for them. Right. But which then leads into financial issues. Sure. So what's number 6? Number 6, we're halfway through now. Which I think is one of the biggest ones. Unrealistic expectations. Or unrealistic, or not just unrealistic, but unrealistic and unspoken expectations. Ooh, that's I'm even unspoken. I like that, the unspoken part, because I'm expecting you 100%. To do this, but I never verbalized it. How are you supposed to know? Now I'm mad at you for not meeting my expectations. Right. It was realistic, 100%. But you didn't know. And that gets into the communication aspect of it. You got to have good open communication, but the expectations have to be reasonable, right? I can't say, or I can't have Janelle tell me, I'm not even going to say, I'm going to have Janelle tell me, I want you to look like Chris Hemsworth, which she wouldn't, because she doesn't like Chris Hemsworth. But, your boy think that'd be pretty tight. But she, I want these big rippling muscles, which she doesn't. But I want all this, and these are the, you want me to love you, this is what I need to do, or you need to do for me. And that would be an unrealistic expectation, because your homeboy's been fat all his life. So it's just unreal. Or like Mark, if Beth said to you, Mark, unless we own 6 Teslas, there's no commitment or love for you. You ain't, candy shop is closed. Which, side note, have you seen a lot of the TikTok, like, woke girls? They want a dude with, like, he's got, like, 6 figures and all this. Gold digger? Yeah, basically. Yeah. So, but that is a real thing. Right. It'd be the same, like, on Beth to me, saying, okay, I want you to have your business, run a full-time job, take care of all the kids, do all the things, and I'm just going to go hang out with people. But you got to take care of all the kids, everything. It's I can't do that. It could also lead to unrealistic expectations, even emotionally, right? Of like, hey, I've read all these, I got this expectations from reading all these fantasy novels, and we call them smuts. Yeah, smut. I expect you to come riding on a horse and sweep me off my feet and say how much you love me and write poetry for me. Like, that's just for me, your boy here. That's unrealistic expectation. Not that I don't try to be romantic, but I am not naturally. I'm not naturally good. But if we're supposed to love our wives, we got to 100%. Got to meet them where they're at. And I will do my best. But to say that you want me to be this. You want me to be, Robert Hemingway is not going to happen. I'm just not that linguistic about it. And what might be a fair thing to do is if you're newlyweds, like I'm thinking of some people in our group who are newlyweds, who are just getting in the game, or who are dating, engaged, or honestly, long time married too. I don't think it's a bad idea to say, okay, all cards on the table. We throwing no shade. We ain't hating. What are expectations that you, because there's also expectations based on home life. Like I could look at 100%. Beth and say, well, my mom did all this, so I'm like, and that's not me saying I expect you to do it. It's like that's just what I know.
Sure.
And Beth going,
nope.
no, like,
Nope.
because that's not me.
Yeah.
So I do think it's fair to say, okay, so if you lay it on the table, like, these are just expectations I have, and then you have to say, be willing to say, okay, I am choosing not to have these anymore because of just the nature of the beast.
It should be working together through something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a couple.
And then there's compromise in that.
Heck yeah.
Like if I'm a big gamer and Beth's like, I expect you to never game again. I'm not a gamer, but she said, I expect you never to game again. I'd be like,
maybe the compromise is you game once a week. You know, maybe there's
right.
compromise.
And that's where those expectations work.
Right.
But then if we have them written down and established, then you're able to lean into it more, the fact of, and it can be a reminder not to use it as a beat the other spouse down. Yeah, not using it as a weapon, but more as a reminder to you, be like, okay, I chose, like case in point, like with Beth taking care of all the kids, I can't expect to have a spotless house, food always on the table, kids always cleaned up, Beth, dolled up, ready to go hit the town. Like that's an unrealistic expectation. Like that ain't gonna happen.
Right.
But I can't use that as a weapon where it's like, well, if you would just love me, you would do all these things.
Right. No, exactly.
Shut up. Like,
again,
no.
by saying that, that's an unrealistic expectation.
But I do think it's okay to, in my opinion, this is thus saith Marc. It's okay to like write them down and talk about these. Like these are just expectations I have.
Well,
and not saying that I expect you to do it, but this is just based on my experience. This is what I expect the wife to be like. And then your spouse or a future spouse can be like, well, no.
and here's the thing. Once you establish whatever expectations you have for each other as a couple, it's not a bad...
And it's going to change some.
It's not a bad idea to say, hey, in 6 months, let's revisit these.
Right, because there's times and there's seasons. Because there were times when Beth was always on Johnny on the spot with certain things, but because of Lennox, it's not the fact that she doesn't want to.
No, but things have changed.
She physically can't.
Things have changed now.
And it's okay to change. And it's okay to do it.
It's like me and Janine don't have the same...
good with change.
We don't have the same expectations of each other from when we didn't have kids to now that we have kids.
Lean into that a little bit.
All right, when we didn't have kids, we had a spotless house. We went out on the town. We went out and did things all the time. We had
you hit
date
up that
nights.
Niles.
Yeah. Now it's like, hey, if we can get a date night like once a month, we're pretty happy about that. I mean, we haven't even been able to establish that yet, but we'd be super happy about that. But because of life's got in the way, and we're understanding of each other, and we're understanding that, and we still try to help each other navigate and work through each other's needs, even in this season of kid caring busyness. Same situation like you and Beth are in. We do the best that we can, and we navigate it together, not separate, but together. Mm-hmm. So,
that's cool.
Next, number 7.
And I should say, you should have these conversations before you're married, because this could also show
100%.
if your spouse is humble
This
enough.
should be premarital counseling 101 right here.
Yep.
Anyways,
all right, keep going.
Number 7, stress and anxiety. This is a big one. So stress and anxiety can lead to unhappy marriages, especially, again, unrealistic expectations. And I'll use us as an example. If I was stressed out and anxious and debilitated by my stress and anxiety or having issues, and your unrealistic expectation is that you just need to knock it off and stop, that's an unrealistic expectation, and I'm really struggling, and that's not even being understanding or anything like that. Likewise, I can't just waller in my stress and anxiety so much so that I've totally neglected my spouse in that. There's a time and a season for it, but I can't just stay there.
But not even just time and a season, but it's more the fact of, yes, we can't always control our anxiety and our stress.
But we should be seeking help in dealing with that, right? Yeah. We can't just say, well, this is just the way I am and take it or leave it. Like, that's not the right attitude to have.
And I think that's what it is. And I remember there are some people in the Facebook chat talking about that, where it's like, they're now home with their kids and they're dealing with anxiety of going out and what could happen, or their spouse going and what happens if they don't come back. And coming from a person who had a very anxious, not Beth, that puts a big strain on a marriage, because it's like, it's suffocating. You can't breathe. And there's a different, and for those who are dealing with anxiety and feeling like you have that elephant on your chest, I'm not saying have more faith. I'm not saying pray it away, but there are. No,
that's part of it.
But you do need to have I'm trying to make sure I word this correctly. You do need to take the appropriate steps to go find help. And that's why I'm like, it's okay to have to use a therapist. That's totally cool.
It's okay to be on medication if you suffer from a disorder where that's like naturally your chemical makeup of your brain.
Or it's causing you to not be the best spouse or parent or friend that you need to be.
I want to preference that. I think it should be under the medical care of a licensed doctor.
Versus just grabbing that street.
Right, exactly. So I there's some care because otherwise you might fall into the substance abuse number 4 issue again.
Right.
And we go back to that.
With stress and anxiety, you also do need to look at it where it's like, okay, so what's causing the stress and anxiety? Yeah. And sometimes it's bad decisions, sometimes it's financial trouble, and again, sometimes it's a control freak tendency. Sure. But sometimes, especially like postpartum, you go buck wild crazy sometimes, and I don't want to say that in a rude way, but as a husband,
that's because of hormones and issues like that. So that's something that can they help, or should we be understanding? Should we, as a husband, help our wives through those times?
Or there's trauma, there's PTSD from certain things,
and that's where seek help, right? Seek help on how to navigate your way through that. There's support groups for different types of things out there like that. There's counseling. There's, psychiatrists. There's all that stuff is fine. Now, I would suggest not going to just any as a Christian, going into any Joe Schmo who's going to be
leave your spouse.
Yeah. Oh, well, they're, this and that. I would try my best to find the best Christian counselor I could. And there are certified Christian counselors out there that you can get. It doesn't just have to be old pastor Smith from whatever down the road.
And I do want to say too, so we'll move on from this one. We are working with someone who's an expert in this field with dealing with stress and anxiety. If you want to check her out now, it's Kara Snyder with an I, Snider. So Kara, Caris.
And eventually we're going to get on here.
Yeah, we were just emailing back and forth, and we're just trying to nail a date down to talk about this. So, but stress and anxiety, whether it's good stress, because there is good stress, like kids are stressful. Like there is good stress. There is a natural anxiety in life, but I don't even say
out of control.
But again, I want to be careful for someone who's dealing with this right now that we're not just flippantly talking about. But
what I'm saying,
unrestrained stress and anxiety that's just open flow can cause a lot of stress in a marriage.
What I mean is uncontrolled by either voluntary or involuntary.
Yep.
It's not in the control of whatever.
Whether you're open the floodgate or you're just trying to, pick up all the little runaway.
Yeah, monkeys. I mean, there's so many times where you don't have a choice in it, and it just comes on you like a fly. I have. If I drink too much coffee, I have panic attacks.
So
from
stop drinking too much coffee.
So I mean, I can control that, but there's other people that have panic attacks for no reason, and they can't help that. And that's where we say seek help and do what you can to find the help that is going to get you through this. And hopefully you got a spouse that is understanding and going to stand by you and help you through this situation.
Because they have a commitment to the marriage.
There it is. All right. So number 8, man, we are going long on this one too. So let's do these last couple pretty quick. So busyness. This one's pretty straightforward. If you are too busy where you can't work on the relationship, you can't be there. You can't have a relationship with your spouse if you don't spend any time with your spouse, if you're always too busy to spend good quality time with your spouse.
And again, there's sprint seasons if you're trying to knock out debt, if you're trying to finish school.
There's times where you got you got too many kids. You got all these kids around here.
What are you talking about?
So many kids that keeps you busy. It's naturally busy. It's not a bad thing, but busyness can hurt marriages. So you got to make sure you carve out time for good quality time. And your spouse.
And this is the hard part is by me, and this is where you have to learn is be okay saying no. I'm learning this because I've had a handful of people reach out to me on Instagram. Hey, can you just talk on the phone? And I'm like, if I say yes to you, I'm saying no to the only time I have with Beth.
100%.
So no.
And this is why a lot of times on the podcast, like emails, texts, Facebook,
it just doesn't always happen.
I don't respond a lot anymore because this is my time when I got with my wife or my kids and my wife.
And by you saying yes to everyone else, you're saying no to your spouse.
So don't take offense if we don't respond to you. Just understand that.
Just go in the Facebook group and other people will talk to you
and
too.
We're not married, but yeah, go to the Facebook group. All right, number 9, lacking grace for each other. This kind of goes along with what we've been saying.
This one a lot.
This is not being understanding. This is not showing if somebody's struggling with something, showing compassion and care. And
I would
all
say
that.
This is also the idea of and this is what I struggle with is keeping a ledger of the rights and the wrongs because love keeps no records of right and wrong. And if you're keeping records of wrongs, that's not showing grace. That's not showing mercy. That's not showing forgiveness. That's not loving your spouse the way you want to be loved.
Right.
Not even involving the fact the way Jesus loved the church in that. So, but yeah, a lack of grace for one another and knowing that we're humans. Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, number 10, lack of sexual passion or AKA the goodies. Wow, you did the sound effect. Terrible. So, but this is a big killer, right? And
honeymoon phase
well, typically there's other issues from this list that have caused there to be the lack of number 10, the sexual side of the marriage. The bed has been defiled by one other thing, whether it's infidelity, constant conflict,
or
substance abuse, whatever, busyness, whatever. Yeah, so you got to make time. You know, the Bible
physically, connect emotionally.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't expect your spouse, even though Scripture says don't withhold yourself, right? And there's a reason why, because it can lead to temptation. But it doesn't mean that it should always be without consent. It should always be consensual. Always be consensual. Listen to the words coming out of my mouth.
I would think of the tea reference. Someone can't say yes or no to tea if
so
they don't want to say yes.
It's got to be mutual, consensual sexual encounters,
right? And the Bible talks about that. The fact of don't forsake the assembly of one another.
Well,
but that's not what I was talking about.
It was,
but the Apostle Paul was talking about the fact of the only reason why couples shouldn't be knocking boots is because you're dedicating yourself to prayer, but don't go too long because the devil will tempt you and lead you out, lead you astray. Will get screwed up.
I think it Judges where there's Judges, and I forget what chapter, but there's this scuffle where it talks about this guy, and I forget his name, but he overpowers a woman and rapes her, right? So that is non-consensual, and that can happen in marriages and does happen in marriages, which leads into what we're going to talk about in number 11 a little bit. But that to me, there's a hard line there, right? That you're not loving you're not loving your wife or your spouse.
You're not loving your spouse. That's it.
That is unconsensual, and that is wrong, and it is against what God has established.
Now, and I do want to say though, it seems like a lot of times when couples fight, sex is the thing that's the
bargaining chip.
It's the bargaining chip. Yeah. Like, I ain't doing nothing, and it's like, oh crap, okay, and that's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be an intimate time to connect with one another, not a weapon, and that's why the Bible talks about bro, your body is hers, and her body.
Right. Don't withhold yourself.
And
so
there's a mutual. There's supposed to be a mutual in there, but if you're striving for that connection, the physical connection can lead to emotional connection, and then emotional connection can lead to physical connection too.
And your spiritual connection could lead to your physical connection. I've heard of that happening with. I knew a pastor that said, the more me and my wife prayed and studied Scripture,
the more they prayed and read Scripture together.
The more I was attracted to my wife, and the more we connected, and the more that happened. So, anyways, number 11.
Trying so hard not make
I'm
comments.
moving on to number 11. So, number 11, the final one, and then we'll end it, I guess.
Yeah, we'll end it.
So, number 11, physical abuse. Right.
I mean, you can also lead spiritual and emotional abuse in there too.
Abuse. We'll just call it abuse, right? But physical abuse, I think of because we think of like there's a lot of I would say fundy movements that say if there's physical abuse, you're still supposed to stay there with your husband. They'll be like, no, you can't do that
because you made a commitment to your vows.
Exactly, and I would say no. I would say get to a safe space.
Go find someplace.
Get to a safe space. Now, I'm of the big mindset of, man, I would love to leave room for reconciliation, but reconciliation doesn't always happen.
But, this is the thing where, and this is where the awkwardness of legality, this is where I had to step into with my divorce, it's not just a mutual thing. There's legal implications and everything. Mm-hmm. And so I remember when my mom was going through her divorce with my stepdad, and I mean, I'm trying to be very kind in what I say, but I don't have a lot of kind words to say because facts are facts. But in order to make sure that my mom literally protected herself, she had to file for a legal separation in all of these things, and before the divorce was even finalized, because there's a level of and I've heard of this where the husband is abusive to the wife, and then the wife flees, and because she flees and doesn't do anything, he can screw up her credit, her life, take out credit cards, screw up her social security. I mean, literally, he's like, okay, if I can't physically touch you, I'm gonna destroy your entire life. And so there is a level of, you can file for legal separation, so that way you're safe in a lot of other regards in terms of trying to move on in the future. But I've always told my teenagers this, where I'm like, if you're ever in a spot where you physically feel unsafe, whether it's a boyfriend or a girlfriend or fiance or spouse, my door is always open.
Yeah.
And so if my teenagers listen to it, the call's still out, and which I hope it never ever has to happen.
Well, to me, it shouldn't be you first. It should be the authorities first. because it's against the law.
I'm just more like, if you need a place to come hide, I got you.
It's against the law. The authorities need to be contacted.
Right.
So,
but yeah, physical. I mean, I don't think we need to talk about that one as much. The fact of that could definitely cause harm to a marriage.
Well, and again, emotional, spiritual, all that's mental. I mean, that is
and
all
there is
damaging
spiritual
to
abuse
a marriage.
that can happen in a marriage and emotional. Like it's,
100%.
and so many times it comes back to what? It comes back to gripping for control and power. That's what it really comes back to.
It's selfishness is what it is. It's absolute selfishness of I want what I want, and I don't care what you want, whether it's power, whether it's sexual favors, whatever it may be. That's what it's all about me, and that's what God's telling us not to be. He's calling us to serve one another, and for husbands especially to love their wives as Christ loved the church, and likewise, wives love their husbands as the church loves Christ. I would think it would be a mutual thing there. So,
and to end the episode, because I know we got to end it and get on to fun facts, is if we take now granted, you can't change your spouse. Only God can change your spouse.
100%.
But you can change you.
But
and if there are struggles in the marriage, your first stop is not to say you're a screw up. The first question you need to ask is what am I doing in this marriage and relationship? Am I putting in 100% or am I putting like 20%?
But God
is this
can
a
use
season? Is this a time? Is this a thing? But yes, but it doesn't say by what you say or what you argue about, you can change your spouse. No. It says the way you live.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to, for your actions.
Which that's where the spiritual abuse comes in from the funny, where the fact of, well, if your husband's just beating you, just keep living a good life because then he'll change his ways.
That's where I would disagree. Nope. And that's why I exclude, in my opinion, physical or that type of harm from the scripture. But that's just me. I can't prove that through scripture because scripture doesn't talk about that.
But with us being
in this situation, this culture, there are laws of the land, and the laws say a person goes to jail. And so, but to me, it's not true. You can't change the person, but God can change the person. But you can live the way you're supposed to live in your actions. God can use your actions in certain situations, not in all situations, but use the actions of you treating your spouse, husband and wife. I'm going to use both there. Because nowadays a wife could be bad in the marriage. I think of
Johnny Depp.
I think of the movie Fireproof, and what did he do? He tried to win back his wife by doing good actions after he had screwed everything up, and that's true. That can happen. So your actions, with God's help, can help influence those who are unbelievers or disobeyed the word. And so don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. All right. That's all I got to say. That's it.
As I wind down the conversation, I think the biggest thing is you'd be shocked about how a soft answer turns away wrath. Mm-hmm. And if we are willing, I mean, I'm talking from the husband spot. If I'm willing as a husband to submit to my wife and go, what do I need to do to love you today? And do that, you'd be shocked at how blessed your marriage would be. And from the wife's side, you'd be like, what can I do to love my husband today? You'd be shocked about how much your marriage can change. And at the end of the day, marriage is hard, man. And
100%.
Marriage is hard, parenting is hard, but just because it's hard doesn't make it bad. The hard things are worth fighting for. That's what Beth says all the time. Beth will say, if I'm worth fighting for, I'm worth having a tough conversation. If this is worth fighting for, it's worth having hard moments. Like even for the kids, if the kids are worth it, it's worth it having those tough moments. So don't be scared to have them. Lean into it, have those conversations, but also make sure you're in a mental spot and he or she's in a mental spot to have those conversations. But if we're seeking after the goal of what is it supposed to look like for not just a perfect marriage, but a good godly marriage, and we said, I'm going to take care of my part, I'm going to do the best I can, you'd be shocked by how much your marriage would change.
Yep, exactly.
Time for Fun Facts with Filler.
Well, my dude, so we are almost at an hour and a half episode again, and we still got a part 2 to do.
It might be a part 3 at the pace we're moving.
My goodness, we've never done a part 3. My stinking goodness. We're doing a whole series up in here. But let's send these married people on their way, my dude. They don't need to stay here any longer. Right. So what's the fun fact you got for us today?
Well, last week we talked about not having a Mario fun fact, so I brought a Mario fun fact for you right now. So Mario was named after a real estate developer in Washington.
Wait, but wasn't Mario like Nintendo like a Japanese thing?
Hang on. So yes, really. In 1981, Nintendo was renting out a warehouse in Tukwila, Washington to use as their American headquarters. According to NPR, a man named Mario Segale left an impression on his Nintendo tenants when he stormed into their office demanding late rent. Even Segel's predilection for overalls and short statures seemed to have influenced Mario's design through the years. Segel passed away in 2018, but he's left an everlasting impression on Nintendo, embodied by the gaming company's mascot. So there's your fun fact about
So
Mario.
the sweet, innocent, kicking Bowser's butt Mario
Was the real estate that came yelling, I want my late... Oh, no, wait. Oh, it's me. I want my late rent.
That's really funny. I mean, hopefully with how much money they make off Mario, hopefully bro got his payment
I was
back.
gonna say,
That's what I'm saying. Hopefully he got his aid from all this.
I'm sure he had some back payment fees in there.
Get it in there. Well, hey, guys, we don't want to keep you any longer. So just like always, we are thankful that you joined us here on RTC. Connect with us over on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Text us at 574-400-5352. Email realtalkerspodcast@gmail.com. Is there anything else these people need to know before we go, Fuller?
No, we love you.
We love you. We're just going to do it like that?
Let's just end it
Dang,
like that.
I love it. Well, hey, again, we love you guys. So until next time.
Take it easy.